Hey, hello everybody, welcome to the Trading Setup channel. My name is Niku and welcome to today's live stream. We're going to be discussing the ADX indicator today. We're going to be looking at what it shows you, what kind of data it shows you. This is one of my absolute favorite indicators to use when I'm trading. So we're going to look at that. We're going to look at some examples of how to use the ADX in practice with combination of a bunch of different other things. We're going to look at technical drawing tools and we're going to look at other indicators to help us determine entries. So yeah, if at any time during the stream you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. We can answer it right away, and I do have the chats open. So yes, this is the perfect time to ask questions if I'm not explaining, if there's something that I might not be explaining properly. Let's clear up that confusion before the stream ends. Okay, without any further ado, let's get to it. So the ADX platform is a standard indicator on practically every platform. So we're going to add that to our chart quick and let's just have a quick look at it. So this will be the ADX indicator. I like to change the colors, so I'm going to do that now quick. I like my DI plus to be green and I like my DI minus to be red. But this is a cosmetic thing. You don't need to worry about doing that if you don't feel like it. There we go. You know, let's make this just a little bit thicker for today, so we can see them just a little bit more clearly. Here we have the ADX. The ADX consists of three lines. We have the ADX itself, which is the yellow line you see on the screen there. Then we have the DI plus, which is the green line, and the DI minus, which is the red line. Okay, so if we look at the ADX just on a chart like this, we notice something immediately. When price is going down, we can see that the DI minus is climbing. And then when price is going upwards, we can see that the DI plus is going up every time as price continues its way up. We can see this a little bit more clearly. Let's see if we can find a strong bullish push. This has been, well, here we go. Okay, so we can see when price is moving upwards, we have the DI plus moving upwards as well. Now, one of the things that's tends to confuse people quite often with the ADX is the fact that the ADX itself, the yellow line we see here, does not show direction at all. So whether the price is going down or going up, the further it continues to climb or the further it continues to fall, the ADX will continue to rise. So the ADX itself shows us the strength of the current move. Right, so it shows us there's a lot of strength behind the current move. In this case, we can see this is a downwards move, and we can see the further it's going, the further price is falling, we can see that the ADX keeps climbing. So it's showing me that there's a lot of strength behind, you can think of it as a lot of selling pressure at that point while it is still climbing, and eventually it will level out when price starts changing direction or starts leveling out at least. Okay, so this will be true whether price is falling or climbing. The ADX will always show you strength. So it will go up when price is falling and it will go up when price is climbing. Let's switch to a different asset. Maybe we can just see you can see this beautiful example. We can see how price was going upwards and the ADX price was coming downwards. ADX showed us that there was a strong move. It started declining as price started leveling out and started turning. And then when price started climbing, we could see that the ADX again started rising. So it's showing us that this move is gaining momentum or gaining strength. So whether price is going up or down, the ADX will always behave the same way. So that's one thing to remember. It seems to be one of the things that confuse people quite often. Okay, so another thing we can immediately, when we just simply look at the chart like this, one of the things we can see immediately is when we experience these crossovers, it seems that quite often, not always, but quite often we can see we have these DI and DI plus and DI minus crossovers. We can see that price tends to change when this starts happening, or the direction of price tends to change. This will not always be the case. We can see that we had a small crossover there, for example, and when you get areas like this, you'll usually see this in sideways movements. Okay, so when price is moving in a direction and just levels out, goes into range instead of just continuing its direction or reversing and changing direction, when price goes levels out and goes into range, you're going to start seeing the DI behave like this. Okay. One thing to note is while the DI is behaving like this, we can see that the ADX continues to fall. It doesn't rise again. Whereas when we had the crossover here, the ADX started rising again. Okay, where was that other beautiful crossover? We had this here as well. When we had the bullish crossover, shortly after that, the ADX started rising again, showing me that the strength of the move is increasing. So this could have been a potential buy entry for us. This could have been a potential sell entry for us. Right around here maybe, because this is where the ADX started climbing again. So this is some of the ways that we can use the ADX. So the DI plus and the DI minus shows us the change or the rate of change of the candles. Okay, so when price is, this is actually a beautiful example. We can see we had downwards movement here, but suddenly we had these big candles. And if you look at what the DI minus did, this will be the red line here. While price was dropping like this, the DI was just going up and down, but all of a sudden we had this decent climb in the DI, showing us that there's a massive, very quick and sharp increase in the change of the candle closes. Same thing is true for when price is going upwards. Once we see that massive acceleration, we see these spikes on the DI plus as well. So one of the things I like to use, one of the ways I use the ADX is I'm looking for these DI spikes, but I look for DI spikes where the ADX is relatively small. Usually we'll get this on the lower time frames. If we look at this, we can see these big, beautiful spikes. And on a low-ish ADX, this will usually be an area where I will be interested in taking buy trades. The reason for this is because the ADX itself shows us the strength of the move. When we get these massive spikes, these sharp spikes on the DI plus or the DI minus, but the ADX is fairly low still, it's telling me that there's not a lot of strength behind that quick sell, or not a lot of strength behind that quick buy. This means that there is a fairly good chance that price will pull back immediately. Even if it's just short term, it doesn't mean that will necessarily completely change the direction of the current price movement. But if you look at this, for example, we had the ADX down 27, that DI spike was 44, and we had a beautiful reversal here. We've got one here as well, although this is not the kind of spikes I really like. I like these sharp spikes. So I use this not by itself, in conjunction with other indicators, but this is one of the ways I also use the ADX. So we can get a lot of data just from the ADX indicator by itself. And when we start combining it with other indicators, it becomes a really powerful indicator. If I'm only allowed to use one indicator for the rest of my life, it will probably be the ADX, because there's a lot of data that I can get from it. Okay, so now that we understand this, if you guys have any questions on the ADX, now's the time to ask. I'm going to move on and start looking at trade examples, and hopefully we might actually just pick up a trade or two as well. But okay, let's have a look at trade examples. I'm going to be on the 1 minute chart. The ADX will work on all time frames. You don't need to get stuck in a 1 minute chart. The reason I'm going to use a 1 minute chart today is because it's going to give me more entries in a shorter time frame. And hopefully, if I'm doing this on a 4 hour chart, for example, there's no way we will possibly see a live example of an entry. At least on the 1 minute, we've got a chance of seeing an actual live entry. So let's do that. So that's the reason I'm staying on 1 minute, but the ADX is valid. You can use this on all time frames. From 1 minute to 4 hour to daily, you can use this on any time frame. So don't get stuck on time frames. Trade what you're comfortable with. I use this in Forex as well on the higher time frames, and then I use it on the shorter time frames for options as well, for binary options. So all time frames will be fine. Okay, so let's have a look at practical examples of how we can use the ADX to find entries. One of the better ways to do this is to use basic support and resistance. If we have a look at, I'm going to move this chart here. Okay, so suppose this is the current price. We don't know what's coming, but this is where price is currently at, and we can see from this chart that we have a level here. There's a level that we can see already, and as we go along on the chart, we would have drawn this in. This would have been something we would have drawn in. So I'm going to put it like that, and let's just get it nice level, and that would be our support level. So we can see that price got immediately reversed from this level, tested again, rejected, finally broke through. After the break, we came back for the retest, and the retest rejected, and price continued its way down, made a new low, then came back up, tried twice to break this level, failed, and then continue its way down. So this is a very valid current support and resistance level. From here on, it will be a resistance level. If you don't quite understand support and resistance, I did do a stream on it late in last year. Go watch that video. I explain everything there, how to properly draw support and resistance. That goes, the same goes, we covered channels in that stream as well. Okay, so now that we found this support and resistance level, we are now watching what price is doing. So price is going up, price is going down, and then we have this. We have this massive spike here. So I'm just going to extend this to there. Now look how beautiful this spike was. It was a very sharp climb, but it got stopped by the resistance level that we've established in this area here. But now look at my ADX as well. We have this massive spike on the DI plus. If I look at all the peaks on the ADX, this one stands out. If from all the peaks, the recent peaks that I can see, this was the average level, more or less. That would have been the average level on this asset for that. What's that? Almost 3 hours. The average level was 35.52 ish. Let's call it 35, and then suddenly we have this massive spike here on 44%, 43%, and this spike coincided with price hitting the resistance level. So they happened at the same time. This is the kind of trade I will take any day of the week. Okay, so this would have been a sell trade. I would have waited for the ADX here to turn downwards. That would have been on that candle, and I would have just gone with it. So that's one very effective way to use the ADX. To use the ADX, you're going to see this happen quite often if you start drawing in support and resistance lines all over your chart. Okay, so and that support held there as well. That would have been a nice trade, although the ADX didn't show this to me. But again, we can let's just extend that again so we can see it more clearly. There we go. So we had this DI spike here, this massive DI spike, and it happened right on the resistance, and it turned down. So we had a sell opportunity here. We had another one here. So as soon as this candle rejected, shortly after that, we had the bearish crossover on the DI of the DI minus crossing over the DI plus. So the DI plus was falling, DI minus was climbing, telling me that we're gaining, that the downwards movement is increasing and the upwards movement is decreasing. Okay, so another trade opportunity there. For this one, we wouldn't have taken the trade there, we would have taken it somewhere here. Okay. And again, we're on a 1 minute chart. If you did a 3 or 5 minute trade on this, would have been good. So we can use the crossovers and the spikes of the ADX to find entries by simply adding the support and resistance levels of the current asset that we're looking at. Okay, let's have a look at another one, see if we can find another example of support and resistance. Sometimes it's not going to be spot on. That example we just had was actually a really nice one. But sometimes it's not going to be spot on. Support and resistance especially will never always be spot on. But if it's close enough, go with the trade. This is something you'll need to develop a feel for, though. You simply cannot expect to pick it up overnight. So this asset was behaving very erratically. No decent entries on this. Let's see. Let's have a look at the different. This is the one we were on just now. Just doing a quick scan, seeing if we can find some decent DI spikes. So this might have been one you might have done, although that was a bit too close. But that was a possible trade. We hit the same level here, price got rejected. So if you waited for the spike to turn down, this would have been the entry. 3 or 5 minute trade here would have been good. Okay. So it's not giving us a ton of examples on the top current assets anyway. So this might actually be a decent trade coming up. Let's give this a minute. We might be able to actually take an entry here. So that will be from there to roughly there. Okay, so we have this level here that price struggled with, got rejected, struggled to break through, and then we did test it again, and we are now busy heading towards the retest. We can see that we are close. We got close to price. We got that big decent spike. If we look at the average ADX level as well, ADX is super low here, and this might be a good time to take an entry. I would have liked price to hit. Let's go with it. Okay, so price got stopped again by the resistance level, and I hope this thing doesn't rail me now. I really don't. But I would have liked price to actually just hit this resistance area instead of just stopping below it. But be as it may, we had a decent spike on the ADX. On the DI plus, did turn down, so I'm taking this and just going with it. Taking a 3 minute trade should be good enough. But we'll see what happens. Okay, while we're waiting for this to finish up, I'm going to add this to my hot slot there, and I'm going to look at some other assets while we're busy waiting. Now, support and resistance that you draw in is very valid. One of the other ways that I like to use support and resistance is with moving averages. So I always have these 3 moving averages on my chart. It's the 50, the 100, and the 200 simple moving averages. And these act as support and resistance as well. Now, you won't often get DI spikes coinciding with the moving averages, because often when price is moving downwards, you will see price making spikes, and this will be obviously below the moving averages when price is in a downward trend. But there are areas where you will be able to find some entries. Just show me one good example. Of course. Interesting, this example that we looked at just when we started with the normal support and resistance, this coincides with the 200 moving average. So there we are. This is what you'll see sometimes. It's interesting that it coincided there. I love when that happens. But yes, you can use moving averages as well. One of the areas as well, also where the ADX really shines is when price is ranging. When price is caught in a range, in a horizontal range, the ADX will give us a ton of entries. This is where it really shines. I just want to see if I can find an example of where price is stuck in. Oh, we still got this trade open, Res. Okay, so this is doing well. We took this on the 1 minute, yes. Okay, beautiful entry. We had price testing, and interestingly enough, there was another good example. We took this because it was close to the resistance area, but it was spot on the 200 moving average. And we took this because of the big DI spike, and we just went with the fact that ADX was fairly low, big DI spike. We just went with the trade and took a sell. Okay, so I'm really glad this one actually did my example for me with the moving averages. Okay, let's see if we can find an asset that where price is ranging really well. I would like to see, we should actually be able to find one on the 1 hour. Oh, what a candle. Which assets likes to range? You not so much. You like, I don't think you either. Again, guys, if you have any questions at any time, please ask. Let's get it answered. Can we not just find a good asset? Most of the time, okay, this looks like a semi-decent range. Let's go to 1 minute. It should be around, yeah. Nope. Okay, I'm going to use this example. This is not the best example there is, but this will still work. So once you've established that price is in fact in a range, and I'm going to draw the range like this. Okay, so once you establish that price is caught in a range, you're going to see this often. Obviously, not often enough so that I can find a quick example, but this does happen. Assets do go into ranges, especially your non-OTC assets, your real assets will often go into ranges when there's data on the way, important data, or if there's a lot of uncertainty in the market, something has been announced and people are not sure how it's going to impact, we're going to see price go into ranges. But once you have established a range, once you've established that price is in fact in a range, you can then use the ADX to trade off the range extremities. So you will see that there's spikes always on the extremities of the ranges. You get these DI spikes, and if you get a decent spike and you just wait for the spike to turn back downwards, to turn to decrease, you can go with an entry there. And most of the time when price is caught in a range, you will get these big lovely flows, and we can see a sloppy one there, but still we can see that these spikes, while the ADX remains fairly low, we can see that it's not really accelerating in any direction. So this is one of the characteristics of price being in range. Your ADX will be low, and it will stay low. When price is trending, you're going to see these the ADX flow like this. So when price is moving in a direction, but when price is stuck in a range, in general, the ADX will start leveling out on a lowish number and just stay there until we finally break the range. Okay, so that's one of the ways to identify, also to quickly see whether price is in the range or not. Let's have a look at just normal euro. Okay, so we can see here we are moving downwards. ADX is quite high. It's running super high actually at the moment. This is insane. Some possible buy opportunities. Okay, so when price was moving sideways, more or less sideways here, we can see that the ADX remained fairly low. And this is the area where you can start looking for channels or support and resistance. And you can start looking for buy opportunities and sell opportunities within those, on those support and resistance areas. The flatter and lower the ADX is, the more likely it is that that trade will succeed. I will not, for example, when I see a spike like this, and the ADX is this high, there's no way I will go on in the opposite direction. The ADX for me takes prevalence. Prevalence. ADX takes prevalence over the DI plus and the DI minus always. Don't go against the ADX if the ADX is really high. And if it's like this, if it's staying, we can see how it just stays up here for this whole duration. And a lot of people would have been buying in this area here. I can promise you that a lot of people would have been buying because it's fallen so far. It has to turn upwards, isn't it? One of the mistakes we love to make when we, especially for new traders, can't go any lower, can't go any higher, has to turn at some time. So when the ADX is high like this, look for opportunities to go with the trend instead of trying to go against it. This is not a good idea. It's never a good idea to go against the ADX. Okay, so when your ADX is high, just best for me is just to leave it. I don't even look for entries on an asset where the ADX is running like this. But when your ADX is nice and low, that's where you can start looking for spikes, DI spikes, DI plus, DI minus spikes. Start looking for support and resistance areas. Start looking for stuff like that. Okay. But ADX like this, one of the reasons I love the ADX so much is because it keeps you, not so much, it does give you good entries, but it also keeps you out of bad trades. If you just pay attention to the ADX, it will tell you, if the ADX is high, do not even think about a reversal trade. Just don't. It's that simple. If the ADX is low, that's when you know you can flow. Price is flowing. It's going up. It's going down. There's lots of swings. But when the price is really trending, that ADX will be high. Don't go against it. Okay, so that's, like I said, one of the reasons I really love the ADX. It gives you information about the movements, but it also keeps you out of bad trades. Okay, simple enough. So yeah, that's the ADX. It's a very simple indicator. Once you understand it, I really suggest, if you're new to the ADX, please don't slap it on your chart and think you're going to trade every spike. It's not going to work. Use it in conjunction with something else. Use it with, actually, so one of the things I like to use the ADX with as well is Bollinger Bands. We will often see spikes on the ADX inside of the Bollinger Bands, but sometimes it will be outside of the Bollinger Bands. So when price starts getting out of the Bollinger Bands and we get a DI spike, I know it's gonna change direction soon. Not necessarily in the next minute or two, but once this happens and the ADX and the DI plus turns downwards, you can go with an entry, because you'll see a lot of the DI spikes will take place within the Bollinger Bands and not in the edges. But when you start getting spikes in the edges or outside the bands, like those, these have a decent likelihood of being successful. Especially the lower your ADX is, it's vital that you pay attention to the ADX value. Okay, if the ADX, if we look at this example, for example, we had the ADX price running in the bands, We did get a DI spike, but look at the ADX value. ADX is climbing. If you started taking sell trades anywhere here, you would have been lost one or two of them at least, even if you kept on taking sell trades. And trust me, I have seen areas where it just keeps on falling. I've seen instances where it just keeps on falling. So the ADX, this is where the ADX keeps me out of this trade. The ADX will also tell me, look, there is a DI spike, but the ADX is, this thing's going to run. Don't take a buy trade in this situation. So I don't. And this will keep me out of bad trades. Remember, we do not know what price is going to do. We cannot predict price. We don't use our indicators to try and predict price movement. What we're doing is we're using indicators on our charts to understand what the price is doing currently, and then simply try and follow what it is doing. Following something is very simple. Trying to predict what something's going to do is impossible. So you need to understand that concept. It's one of the things that most new traders struggle with. And I know I say this with every stream, with every video I make. I say this, but it is because it's so vitally important. If you do not understand this concept, you're going to struggle, and the struggle won't end. You're going to keep on struggling because you keep on, if you keep on trying to predict what price will do. It's not something you can do. It's not something I can do. We can't predict what price is going to do next. But we can, with fairly minimal effort, we can actually follow what price is doing. We can look at what it's doing and just simply follow it. Okay, so keep that in mind. Another great example, we have a very high DI spike here. It's a DI plus. But if we look at this ADX, I'm not touching this. There's no way I will take this trade because the ADX is still climbing. For all I know, this can continue upwards for the next 10, 15 minutes or even an hour. Okay. So keep in mind what the ADX shows you, but take the information into account. Okay. Okay, guys, I think that's it for today's stream. If there's something you don't understand, maybe rewatch this video. There's a ton of information on the internet explaining what the ADX is. If you want to dive into the formulas of how the DI plus is calculated and how the ADX is calculated, go for it. I'm not going to cover it on this in a video like this, but there is a ton of information on that explains how the ADX works. Just take it slow. Look at what the ADX is showing you. It's with any other indicators we use, we need to look at the data. We need to understand what it is showing us, and once we understand what it's showing us, we can start making decisions based upon the data that we interpret from those indicators. But please don't simply slap an ADX on your chart and think you're going to trade every spike. I'm begging you, if you want to try out the ADX, do this on your demo account, get used to it. Have a look at some historical data, have a look at how the ADX behaves when there's price spikes, when price is in range, when price is trending. Have a look at all of that. Work with it a little bit, get to understand it, get a feel for it, and only then start incorporating it into your actual real trading. Okay, I thank you all for watching. We'll do a stream next week, Wednesday. So stay tuned. And if you haven't joined the Telegram channel yet, there is a link in the description. Join us on Telegram. We do live trading sessions every day. 3 of them, in fact, where we do some trading. And hope to see you all there, and hope to see you all next week. And that's it. Have a great day. May the pips be with you.